The Awakening. The massive stasis pod dominated the secure chamber aboard Concorde Station, its obsidian surface etched with glyphs that pulsed with a faint amber light. Behind reinforced observation windows, representatives from 17 species argued in a cacophony of translated voices. None wanted to approach the pod or its occupant, the last known Vandar warrior discovered floating in the void, preserved for over 8,000 years. Admiral Jex, the Raxian commander of Concorde Station, slammed his four-fingered hand against the conference table. The historical records are clear. The Vandar were responsible for the extinction of 3 sentient species before their empire collapsed. This specimen should be studied remotely and then disposed of. The holographic displays surrounding the table showed the being inside the pod. A 3-meter-tall humanoid with iridescent black armor seemingly fused to its silvery skin. Its face remained hidden behind an impassive mask adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. The scientific value is incalculable, countered researcher Elix, her translucent membranes fluttering with excitement. The technology that preserved it alone could advance our medical sciences by centuries. At what cost? Hissed Ambassador Troll, the Saurian delegate. His scaled tail twitched nervously. The legends say a single Vandar warrior could decimate an entire battalion. Their neural architecture was designed for combat efficiency above all else. Dr. Maya Santos watched the argument with growing frustration. As the sole human representative on the xenorchaeological team, she was used to being overlooked by the older species of the galactic Concorde. Humanity, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 70 years ago, was still considered naive and impulsive by the standards at species who measured their civilizations in millennia. "We're approaching this all wrong," Maya finally said, her voice cutting through the debate. The universal translators carried her words to each delegate in their native tongue. Admiral Jex's compound eyes swiveled toward her. "Dr. Santos, with all due respect, humans lack the historical context, though." "Perhaps that's exactly what's needed," Maya interrupted, rising from her seat. At 42, she had spent 2 decades studying extinct civilizations across 3 sectors of the galaxy. "You're all viewing the Vandar through the lens of ancient fear. What if the historical accounts were biased by the species who eventually defeated them?" A murmur of disapproval rippled through the chamber. "The records are consistent across multiple independent archives," Ambassador Troll said dismissively. "Written by the victors," Maya countered. "And none of you have considered that this warrior has been preserved for a reason. This isn't mere stasis technology. It's a message capsule. Those glyphs are changing in response to our presence." The chamber fell silent as delegates turned to observe the pod again. The amber glyphs had indeed shifted, forming new patterns that pulsed with increasing frequency. "It's scanning us," Maya explained. "I've been monitoring the energy signatures. It's not a weapon charging. It's a communication protocol trying to establish compatibility with our systems." Admiral Jex's mandibles clicked anxiously. "Even if you're correct, Dr. Santos, initiating contact with a Vandar warrior is too dangerous to contemplate." Maya gathered her data pad and walked toward the door leading to the secure chamber. "Then I'll do it alone." "This is reckless," researcher Elix called after her. "The security protocols require unanimous agreement for direct contact." "Then consider this my official protest against inaction," Maya replied without turning back. "As a representative of Earth, I'm exercising the principle of scientific necessity under Article 7 of the Concorde Charter." It was a rarely invoked clause that allowed individual member species to pursue research deemed vital to galactic knowledge, even over the objections of the majority. The other delegates erupted in protests, but Maya had already sealed the inner door behind her. In the secure chamber, the pod seemed even larger. The mask of the warrior inside appeared to track her movements as she approached, though the being remained motionless within its preservation field. Maya's heart pounded as she reached the control interface. The ancient technology wasn't entirely incompatible with their own. The recovery team had already established basic connections to monitor the pod systems. What they hadn't done was attempt actual communication. "I believe you're trying to talk to us," she said aloud, knowing her words meant nothing to the dormant warrior, but feeling the need to verbalize her intentions anyway. "And I think it's time someone listened." She connected her data pad to the interface and initiated the communication protocol she had developed over the past week of observation. The amber glyphs flowed faster, converging toward the area where her device made contact. The pod hummed, a deep vibration that she felt in her bones rather than heard. Behind the observation window, the delegates had fallen into stunned silence, watching as Maya Santos, human, did what none of them had dared. She established direct contact with a being their civilizations had feared for millennia. The preservation field flickered, and for one terrifying moment, Maya thought she had triggered a catastrophic failure. Then the mask of the warrior retracted, revealing a face that defied her expectations. The Vander was not the monstrous creature of legend. Its features were almost delicate, sharp angles and symmetrical planes forming a face that might even be considered beautiful in an alien way. Its eyes opened, revealing irises of swirling gold that fixed immediately on Maya. Every instinct told her to run. The warrior was awakening, and she stood less than a meter away, protected by nothing but her own conviction that understanding required courage. The Vander's right hand moved with liquid grace, emerging from the preservation field to form a complex gesture before its chest. No attack, no violent lunge, just deliberate movement that Maya recognized as communication. "It's a greeting," she called back to the observers, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. A formal acknowledgement between equals. Maya mirrored the gesture as best she could with her human anatomy. The Vander's eyes widened fractionally. Surprise, she thought. And then it spoke. The sound was like nothing she had ever heard, a harmonic resonance that seemed to bypass her ears and vibrate directly in her mind. Her data pad translated, "You are not the enemy. You are new." "My name is Dr. Maya Santos," she replied, the translation program converting her words. "I'm human." The Vander studied her for a long moment. "Human. Unknown designation. Why have you awakened the last sentinel? We found your pod drifting in deep space. I wanted to understand." The warrior's expression remained impassive, but something shifted in those golden eyes. Understanding. A rare desire among the star kinds. The Vander were not understood. We were feared. Then we were hated. Then we were ended. Maya felt the weight of those words, the condensed history of an entire civilization, spoken by perhaps its last survivor. "I want to hear your story," she said. "Not the story told about you, but your own." The Vander considered this, then slowly, deliberately bowed its head to her. The gesture sent gasps through the observation chamber. "I am Varantal, sentinel of the outer veil, last voice of the Vander collective. My purpose is preservation of all sentient life against the Void Devourer. You have awakened me." This suggests the cycle begins again. Maya felt a chill at those words. What cycle? What is the Void Devourer? Varantal's expression darkened. "The reason we were created. The reason we were feared. The enemy we fought alone, because none would stand with us. It comes again, as it always does. And now, only I remain to warn." Behind her, Maya was dimly aware of the chamber doors opening as the delegates entered, drawn by curiosity and the apparent lack of immediate danger. Admiral Jex approached cautiously. "Dr. Santos, please convey our greetings to the specimen," he said stiffly. Varantal's gaze shifted to the Admiral, then swept over the assembled delegates. Something like bitter recognition flashed across its features. "Descendants of the fearful ones." The translation read, "Your ancestors chose ignorance over difficult truth. Will you do the same?" Maya turned to the delegates. "I think we've severely misunderstood the Vander civilization. They weren't conquerors, they were defenders." "Defenders?" Ambassador Troll scoffed. "Against what?" Varantal rose from the pod in one fluid motion, towering over everyone present. Several security officers raised their weapons, but Maya stepped between them and the Vander. "Show them," Varantal said, gesturing to the pod. The inner surface of the container illuminated, projecting a holographic display that filled the chamber. It showed a massive entity moving through space, a darkness that consumed light, shaped like nothing Maya could describe. Where it touched worlds, they simply ceased to exist, not destroyed but somehow erased. "The Void Devourer," Varantal explained. "It feeds on reality itself. It has a cycle. 8,000 years of slumber, then hunger. My people were created to fight it, to drive it back. We succeeded, at the cost of our civilization and the trust of all other species. Now it wakens again, and I am all that remains of those who knew how to fight it." The hologram showed Vander warriors engaging the entity with weapons and technologies far beyond current understanding. Most died in the battle, but the entity was driven back, wounded. The final sanctuary pod was programmed to awaken when the Devourer's energy signature was detected again. "Your discovery of me was not chance. It is because the cycle begins anew." Maya looked at the terrified faces of the delegates, then back to Varantal. "If what you're saying is true, we need to prepare." Admiral Jex shuddered nervously. This could be deception, a justification for their past aggressions. Varantal's expression remained steady. "Your disbelief was anticipated. It is why I was preserved with full historical records and detection instruments. The Devourer approaches the outer rim of your territory. You have perhaps 2 of your years before first contact. Why would you help us?" Ambassador Troll demanded. "If our ancestors shunned yours." "Because that is the purpose of the Vander," Varantal answered simply. "To preserve all sentient life, even those who fear us. It is what we were created for." Maya faced the delegates. "We have a choice. Continue fearing the past, or learn from someone who has faced this threat before." She turned back to Varantal. "I believe you, and I'll help you convince the others." The ancient warrior studied her with those golden eyes. "Humans, unknown to us, yet you approach without fear, seeking understanding. Perhaps this cycle will end differently." For the first time since awakening, Varantal's expression softened into something almost like hope. The Alliance. 3 months after the awakening of Varantal, Concord Station had transformed. What had once been a diplomatic hub now hummed with military preparations and scientific breakthroughs as the ancient Vander warrior shared knowledge that had been lost for millennia. Not everyone welcomed this collaboration. "The human has been compromised," General Vrask of the Saurian Defense Force declared during the emergency council meeting. His accusation hung in the air as Maya entered the chamber. Varantal, a silent shadow behind her. She has forgotten that she represents Earth's interests, not the Vanders. Maya had grown accustomed to such suspicions. Despite the evidence Varantal had provided, ancient star charts showing the Void Devourer's previous paths of destruction, technological specifications for early warning systems, and detailed accounts of past encounters, many species remain skeptical. Earth's interests are aligned with galactic survival, Maya countered, taking her seat. At 3 meters tall, Varantal couldn't use the standard seating and instead stood at the periphery of the chamber, a constant reminder of difference that made many delegates uneasy. "The detection grid we've established based on Vander specifications has already confirmed anomalous energy readings in the Perseus arm, exactly where Varantal predicted." Admiral Jex manipulated the holographic display, bringing up the latest sensor data. "The readings are concerning," he admitted reluctantly, "but inconclusive. These could be natural phenomena we haven't cataloged before. Natural phenomena that match exactly the energy signature of the Void Devourer from Vander records." Maya shook her head in frustration. "How much more evidence do you need?" Varantal stepped forward, the movement causing several delegates to flinch visibly. "I understand your reluctance," the Vander said, the translation system now perfectly attuned to its harmonic speech. "Fear of the unknown is rational. But there is a difference between caution and willful blindness. Easy for you to say, hissed Ambassador Trell. Your species was engineered for combat against this supposed threat. The rest of us face extinction if you're wrong or lying. The accusation sparked murmurs throughout the chamber. Over the past months, a theory had gained traction among certain factions. What if the Vander had been the aggressors in ancient conflicts, and this Void Devourer was merely a fabrication to justify their return? Maya stood, her patience exhausted. This paranoia is exactly what doomed the alliance with the Vander 8,000 years ago. According to the historical records Varental has shared, your ancestors chose to believe the Vander were conquerors rather than accept the existence of a threat they couldn't comprehend. Convenient that only the Vander records tell this version, General Vrask sneered. Because they were the only ones who faced the truth. Maya slammed her hand on the table. Look at the evidence. The pattern of stellar extinctions in the historical record matches exactly with the trajectory Varental described. The unexplained disappearance of entire civilizations during that period, all consistent with the Devourer's feeding pattern. Admiral Jex raised all four hands for silence. Regardless of historical disputes, we must address the current situation. The Council has voted. Until conclusive evidence of this Void Devourer is obtained, all Vander technology integration will be suspended. Additionally, he hesitated, mandibles clicking uncomfortably. The Vander specimen will be confined to a secure facility for further study. Confined. Maya's voice dropped dangerously. Varental is a sentient being, the last of their kind, who has voluntarily shared knowledge that could save us all. It was expected, Varental said quietly. Fear becomes policy when leaders lack courage. The chamber erupted in outrage at the perceived insult, but Maya noted something in Varental's stance, a subtle shift that she had learned to recognize as resignation mixed with determination. You knew this would happen, she said softly, speaking directly to the Vander while the delegates argued amongst themselves. It happened before. It will happen again unless the cycle is broken. Varental's golden eyes fixed on hers. There is another way, but it requires trust between us. Complete trust. Maya nodded slightly. Tell me. Later that night, as Concord Station's artificial day cycle dimmed to simulate evening, Maya made her way through the less trafficked service corridors. The security protocols had been upgraded since Varental's awakening, but Maya's status as lead synorchaeologist still granted her access to most areas. She found the Vander in the designated holding chamber, seated in meditation, armor gleaming in the low light. They've approved the expedition, she said without preamble. A scientific survey of the anomalous readings. 1 ship, minimal crew. They think it's just to gather more data. Varental rose fluidly. And they allow my presence. I convinced them your expertise is essential for interpreting any findings. What I didn't mention is that we won't be taking any of their communication equipment. She handed over a small device. This contains the coordinates you provided and the activation codes for the Vander beacon. If it really exists, it exists. Left behind when my people realized they would not survive to fight the next cycle. The beacon will provide irrefutable evidence of the Devourer's approach and activate defensive measures that have lain dormant for millennia. Maya studied the ancient warrior, still searching for any sign of deception, despite months of collaboration. She found none. We leave in 6 hours. If we're wrong about this, then I have betrayed the only being in this cycle who showed me trust, and the last hope of my people dies with me. Varental performed the formal gesture of respect that had become familiar between them. But we are not wrong, Maya Santos of Earth. The cycle can be broken, but only if someone is brave enough to face the truth that others fear to see. The expedition ship, Seeker, departed Concord Station with little fanfare. Besides Maya and Varental, the crew consisted of 5 specialists. 2 Raxian engineers, a Saurian navigator, and 2 human security officers who had been specifically requested by Maya for their open-minded approach to interspecies cooperation. Their destination lay at the edge of charted space, a region where several monitoring outposts had gone mysteriously silent over the past month. Official explanation is equipment failure due to stellar radiation, explained Lieutenant Chen, one of the security officers, as they reviewed the mission parameters. But the pattern of outages forms a straight line, almost like something's moving through the sector, taking them out one by one. The devourer does not begin with planetary systems, Varental explained. It consumes technology first, particularly communication systems. Isolation precedes destruction. The Saurian navigator, Seth, flicked his tongue nervously. If this entity is real, we are flying directly toward it with minimal defenses. That's why we're heading for the Vander beacon first, Maya reassured him. According to Varental, it contains not just evidence but protective technology. The journey took 11 days at maximum speed. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's sensors detected a small artificial structure floating in the void, a tetrahedron of unknown material, approximately 20 meters on each side. No energy signature, reported Trill, one of the Raxian engineers. If that's a beacon, it appears to be inactive. It awaits the proper activation sequence, Varental said, moving to the command console. With your permission, Dr. Santos. All eyes turned to Maya. This was the moment of truth. Either Varental was exactly what the ancient warrior claimed to be, or this was an elaborate deception, leading them into unknown danger. Proceed, she said firmly. Varental interfaced with the console, transmitting a complex sequence of signals. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then the tetrahedron began to pulse with the same amber light that had adorned Varental's stasis pod. Energy readings are off the charts, Lieutenant Chen reported, eyes wide. But it's contained, directed. The tetrahedron opened like an elaborate puzzle box, segments sliding apart to reveal a glowing core. A beam of concentrated energy shot out, not toward their ship but into deep space, forming a portal of swirling light. The Vander observation window, Varental explained. It allows us to safely view the devourer from a distance. The portal stabilized, showing them a region of space thousands of light years away. What they saw defied comprehension. A vast darkness moving through the stars, not like a ship or entity, but like a wound in reality itself. Where it passed, matter simply ceased to exist, leaving perfect emptiness behind. Gods, whispered Seth. It's real. Now you see what my people gave everything to fight, Varental said quietly. What they died protecting yours from, only to be remembered as monsters. The beacon's core projected additional information. Detailed scans of the entity, its current trajectory, speed, and projected arrival time in populated space. 14 months. Maya read the data with growing horror. Not 2 years as you estimated. It's accelerating. The hunger grows stronger as it awakens fully, Varental confirmed. But the beacon contains more than observation technology. The Vander warrior interfaced with the core again, and new information flooded their screens, schematics, weapon designs, defensive systems beyond current understanding. This could turn the tide, Lieutenant Chen said, already beginning to compile the data. But will the Council believe it now? They have to, Maya said. This is undeniable proof. As they prepared to return to Concord Station with their findings, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. The Raxian engineers rushed to the sensor stations. Multiple ships approaching at high velocity, Trill reported. Saurian military signatures. Maya turned to Seth in confusion. Did the Council send reinforcements? The navigator's scales flushed with embarrassment. I was instructed to maintain regular communication with General Vrask. When we discovered the beacon, you told them, Maya realized, before we could secure the evidence, and they come not to assist, but to destroy, Varental stated calmly. The fear is too deeply ingrained. They would rather eliminate the messenger than face the message. The approaching ships hailed them, General Vrask's face appearing on the main display. Dr. Santos, you are ordered to withdraw from the alien artifact immediately. It will be destroyed as a potential threat to galactic security. General, the beacon contains crucial information about an existential threat, Maya argued. We have visual confirmation of the Void Devourer. You cannot destroy our only advantage against it. The Council has determined the Vander influence to be the greater threat. Vrask replied coldly. Your judgment has been compromised by prolonged exposure to the specimen. Maya looked to Varantal, desperation mounting. What do? We can't fight a military squadron. The ancient warrior's expression remained serene. We don't need to fight. The cycle continues because fear always overcomes wisdom at the crucial moment. But you, Maya Santos, broke that pattern when you approached me without fear. Now we must show them another way. Before anyone could react, Varantal interfaced with the ship's communication system, broadcasting directly to all approaching vessels, and through them, back to Concord Station itself. People of the Galactic Concord, I am Varantal, last sentinel of the Vander. 8,000 years ago, my people stood alone against the Void Devourer, because none would stand with us. We were feared for our strength, hated for our methods, and ultimately abandoned to our fate. We accepted this because protection was our purpose, even of those who despised us. The Vander activated the beacon's observation portal again, ensuring that all receiving the transmission could see the Devourer. This is your enemy, not the Vander, not each other. This consumes all life, all reality, without distinction. My people fought it to extinction, but we left behind the means for you to survive where we could not. You must choose now. Continue the cycle of fear, or forge a new path together. General Vrask's ships had slowed their approach, but maintained weapons lock on the beacon. Pretty words don't erase history, the general growled. How do we know this Devourer isn't some Vander weapon or illusion? Maya stepped forward, joining Varantal in the transmission. Because I studied every scrap of archaeological evidence across 17 systems. The pattern of destruction matches exactly what the Vander records described. The timeline of their supposed conquests aligns perfectly with the Devourer's previous awakening cycle. She pulled up the data they had just collected. And now we have real-time observations confirming everything Varantal has claimed. The choice isn't between trusting or not trusting the Vander. It's between facing this threat united or divided. History shows us which approach failed. On the screen, they could see General Vrask conferring with others off-camera. The tense standoff stretched for several minutes before he finally spoke again. The Council is reconsidering its position. Stand by for further instructions. As the transmission ended, Maya turned to Varantal. Did we just change 8,000 years of ingrained fear? The ancient warrior's expression softened into what she now recognized as a smile. Fear is powerful, but so is truth when someone is brave enough to speak it. You have done what no one in my time could do, Maya Santos. You built a bridge between understanding and action. 3 days later, as the Seeker returned to Concord Station with the Vander beacon in tow, they were not met with hostility, but with a delegation of the highest-ranking officials from every member species. The evidence had been reviewed, the threat acknowledged, and a new era of cooperation had begun. Admiral Jex approached as they disembarked, performing a formal gesture of respect to both Maya and Varantal. The Concord extends its formal apology for past misjudgments, he said stiffly, and requests the continued guidance of the last sentinel in the coming conflict. Maya watched as Varantal, last of a civilization that had been erased from history and memory, stood tall among the descendants of those who had feared them. The Vander were created for one purpose, to protect all sentient life from the void. I accept your request, not as the last Vander, but as the first of a new alliance. This time, we faced the darkness together. As preparations began for the greatest unified effort in galactic history, Maya reflected on how a single choice, to approach without fear, to seek understanding rather than safety, had changed everything. Humanity's newest contribution to the galactic community wasn't technology or resources, but something far more powerful, the courage to build bridges where others saw only chasms. The cycle, 8,000 years in the making, had finally been broken.